Welcome back everyone. Quickly, let's continue our discussion on CSS background. And right now we'll be discussing about the CSS background color transparency using RGBA. If you do not want to apply opacity to child elements like in our previous example, use RGBA color values instead. The following example sets the opacity for the background color and not the text. So I'm going to show you how it works quickly. In our previous tutorial, I've discussed about this also, but I just want to give you a tip again about it because we are on CSS background color playlist, so you can be able to understand this also in this playlist. So back to our document, we are having this in our previous tutorial where we discussed about the CSS opacity property, and you can check our CSS background playlist to be able to follow along. And right now, let's get to our document. Now in this our document right here, we have did a lot of things so far. Right now, let's say for instance now, where can we use our CSS transparency? We want to use our transparency with RGBA, right? Let me come down here. We have used it already right here inside our previous tutorial, but I'm going to use it again with another element. Let's say we want to select our H3 element, because when you check very well, let me zoom in our document a bit so you can be able to see some of the elements. As you can see, this is our third element right here at the bottom here. What is the one we want to apply the color with? We want to apply the color to. So right here now, let's create another tab. Let's select H3 tag. When you select H3 tag, so we want to give it declaration. We want to declare background color, right? We are already having background color there, but what do we need again? Why are we trying to define another background color? It's because we want to control the opacity, right? So let's give it blue violet also, like we all did. So when you give it blue violet, because we have already gave it blue violet right here, when you give it again, there's not any problem. But just because we want to control it, if you don't give it a color, we won't be able to control it. So let's reload our document. It's still having the color, right? Now let's click on it. If you are following me, please, I want you to understand this. I'm trying to use this panel from the Visual Studio Code. One of the benefits of using Visual Studio Code, you can, if you haven't installed it, you can check our previous tutorial on HTML beginners to the advanced, where I discussed about how you can start writing your code. I've explained how you can check our playlist on how to install Visual Studio Code in details. So now when you click on this color like this panel will show up. Then we can select this RGB that is at the top right here. Just select it, select it again, select it again, select it again, until you are able to see the RGB value right here, the representation of RGB value of your color that you created earlier. Then you can now escape it. So now, as you can see, we are having our color. Let's save our document now, so you can see it's still the same color, right? Now let's specify RGBA. Give it a comma. After this comma, now let's specify 0.3. Let's reload our document so you can see this third element right here is the one we are working on. So let's reload it so you can be able to see what will happen. Can you see? This opacity right here is controlling the color. Like I told you earlier in our previous video, it's controlling the color opacity. The opacity. Don't you forget that. Transparency opacity, color opacity. I will call this color opacity. The other one, we can call it element opacity, but this one is color opacity. I don't think you are getting the point. So let's reload our document. Let's say we highlight here. Can you see? We are able to select our document. Let's give it 00 so you can be able to understand what I mean by this now. Let's give it 00. Definitely we want it to be 0%. The color should be 0%. But when we still highlight our document, it is still there, right? But when you use normal opacity there, it's not going to work. Let me use normal opacity so you can understand what I'm talking about. 0.0 right here. I just want to quickly use this so you can be able to understand the scope. Can you see? When you highlight, you will never see anything. Can you see? When I highlight, you will never see anything. But when you hover on it, you will be able to know that there is something there. But when you highlight, you will never see anything. So that is the benefit of using the color opacity. This color opacity is so useful when you are dealing with colors. So let's say for instance you want to mix a lot of colors together, then you can use opacity to control some things also. Let's give it 70%. Let's give our color 70%. Can you see we are having 70% now? I'm going to show you the difference between this one and the other one. Let's give another one. Let's give this one h3. Let's give a new div element, a new div element that will have h3 inside. Yes. Then let's give it background color of what? Blue violet. So I'm specifying background color of div. Now let's define another div element again. I want to define another div element. That's why I'm doing that. So at the top right here, I'm going to define another div element. Div element will be like this. Inside this div element, I want to have my h3 tag. When I'm having this h3 tag, inside this h3 tag, I'm going to write something there. I want to write new element. So now let's save our document and reload. Can you see we are having this new element at the top right here? So because we have specified the opacity somewhere, that's why this div element, because the opacity we have specified inside it, that's why it's controlling it. Now I'm going to give it id so you can be able to different from the other one. So now let's give it dot what dot div element, anything that is having div. So definitely let's give it class. We are using class right here just to deal with this one. So right here, can you see we want to separate this one? Let's change the opacity, or we might even omit this one and just leave this one like this and change the opacity right here to 100% to 1.0 or specify 1.0. Can you see right now it's not working with this one now? Just imagine it's not working. Just imagine we need our color now, we are not able to use it. Can you see? Just because we have specified opacity right here. So right here now, because so now let's use class instead. When you use class instead, we can just do class div. So let's use class div, maybe it will help us. Can you see the same thing happening? But on heads, we remove this opacity right here. Can you see? Just imagine it is controlling all our div elements. Just imagine the opacity is controlling all our div elements. If you watch my previous video where I discussed about this opacity, you should get the point that happens right here now. So but I will not use div element. I will use another element instead. Then let me use span element so you can understand this. Let's remove this opacity because we are not here to discuss about the opacity from that one. So now let's save our document, reload. Now change this one to span. So I want to change this one to span, and I will change this one also to span. So inside this span right here, I'm going to break this because the span element is an inline element. You can check my previous video where I discussed about the inline versus a block element in our HTML playlist, HTML beginners to the advanced playlist. We are getting to the advanced level, that's why I'm doing all this. As you can see, this is the new element we created using our span element, and this is the other element we created using our div element. But what thing you should notice about this is that our color is much more deeper than this color you are having here. That's the benefit of using the opacity, color opacity. So the color opacity is right here. We are controlling the color opacity right here. This is our, let's say now let's just leave this like this, it will still work. So let's say now right now we are having our h3 tag. Let me break it so you can see. Let's say we are having our h3 tag and we gave it this kind of opacity right here. So let's say we want to give it 0.3. Let's reload our document now. This one, look at this place, look at the color, the background color. Can you see? Sorry, can you see this one? This one is not the one that is changing, it's the one that is, sorry, I made a mistake right there. I'm trying to control the other one. This is the one. Let me bring it back. Let me save our document again and reload. This is our h3 tag. Our h3 tag is not the h3 tag right inside here. We are not talking about the h3 tag inside this place. We are talking about the h3 tag inside this place, which we specified earlier. Don't you forget, we have already joined this h3 tag right here. We are already giving it color. So that's why this opacity we are changing right here is going to reflect inside this one, because this is the first h3 tag that we have. So now let's say we change the h3 tag to, let's just remove it, let's change the h3 tag to h4, so we can do something nice. I want us to control this thing in a sensible manner so that everything can work differently. I think no, we don't even need this one again. We don't need it again. Let's reload our document. Yes, now we are having this opacity, our opacity right here, right? Let me delete all these documents at the top. Let me delete this one I'm having at the top for you to understand. The reason why this code is like this is because I want you guys to understand the deep things about this, but to understand something like that is not easy. So as you can see now, let's say we are having this first element right here. Let me give them name one by one. H3, I'll call it H3 element, H3 new element. The H3 new element is right. So I want you to see the difference. Let me give this one the span, h3 and span element. Yes, h3 inside our span element. This is the h3 in span element, right? So, and this is another h3 tag again. So let's go and check it. Our h3 tag, here is it. Let me break it up. Here is the h3 tag we are talking about. This one now is ordinary field set. Let me call it field set h3 tag, h3 element. Please, I want you to please endure with me. I'm trying to do my best so you can be able to understand this very well. That's the benefit of doing all this. So let me leave it in this manner. Let's reload our document first. Now, feed set h3 element, as you can see this one. So this feed set, I'm going to add a color to it, and I'm going to add, we are already having a color inside this one. So let me add color into our feed set right here. So this is our feed set right here. We want to give it background color. So to select our feed set, we can just specify h3 right here. We specify h3. Also say feed set h3, feed set h3. So element that is in h3 that is inside our feed set element is the one we are trying to target. So let's give it background color. Background color, you can give it blue, blue violet. I'm trying to show you guys something. Now as you can see, we are having color. We have able to target this one, right? So the funnest part right now is that we want to change the opacity. I want you to look at this one. Let me bring it to the top so you can be able to recognize it easily. This one right here, I'm bringing it to the top just for you guys to see it. If I didn't do it in this manner, for you guys to understand it will be somehow. So because this is beginner to advanced, this is getting to advanced. Don't let this our code discourage you or convince you. This is our feed set right here, and this is our feed set. So I'm saying that enter our feed set, any h3 you find there, that is this h3 tag that is inside our feed set, give it this kind of background color. We need background color property, and we want to have this blue violet background color inside it. This one is going to have blue violet. Let's say we change it to red. Now reload your document. Can you see it changed to red? Can you see? So now let's now control the opacity of our blue violet. Let's bring it back to blue violet. Reload. Now we are having blue violet again. Let's control the opacity. Let's control the color opacity. Yes, the color opacity. Now click on the blue violet, come here, click it, click it, click it, click it. Now we are seeing our RGB, right? So inside this our RGB, press comma. When you specify comma right here, now give it 0.3. Save with your document and reload. Can you see the color gets dim? Can you see this our current color right here is still deep? That's what I want you guys to know. So let's say for instance now this kind of value that we specify inside our color right here, let's copy it again, let's save it back, let's remove it and reload our document. Can you see our color is back? Let's now use it again inside our this one also. Let's turn this one also to RGB. Just click on it, click it, click it, click it. This panel is what I'm using to change it. So just for us to see the RGB value. So now let me place the value we have earlier, 0.3. I'm placing it here also. Now let's reload. You are going to see this one is going to light. The color here is going to light than this one. Can you see? It's light now, lighter than this one, but it is not affecting the element color. If you notice very well, it is not affecting the element color, but the opacity of a thing, if you specify opacity inside this one right here, opacity 0.3, if you give this one 0.3 like this, it will affect the element also. Even let's say we give it 0.1, can you see it is affecting both the element and the colors together. So that's the very, let's give it 0.0. You are going to see you will not find anything. Can you see we are not seeing anything again? So now let's say we now remove this one, this value, the 0.0 right here. Let's give our color 0.0 opacity. You are going to see what will happen. Can you see we are still able to see our text? It's only the color that removed. So let's give it 0.2 to call the color again. Can you see the color is coming back? So let's give it 0.6, which is 60%. So can you see the color is coming back? It's not full up to this one yet. So when you give it, if you want to give it 100%, you can give it 1.0. Can you see now we are having 100%? If you give it 0.9, this definitely you are saying 90%. Definitely, if you notice very well, this one can never full up to this one. So because we are giving this one value 90% and this one is taking 100% already by default. So that is the benefit of using the color opacity. So you should know the difference between color opacity and the element opacity. The both are setting the transparency of your color of your element and all that. So please practice this, because if you don't do, nobody will do that for you. Let me check our summary so far. So we have discussed about this. You learn from our CSS color chapter that you can use RGB as a color value. In addition to RGB, you can use RGB color value with an alpha channel RGBA, which specifies the opacity for a color. RGBA color value is specified with RGBA red, green, blue, and alpha. The alpha parameter is a number between 0.1 fully transparent and 1.0 fully opaque. You will learn more about RGBA colors in our CSS color chapter. You can check our CSS color playlist, so you can be able to understand how it works. And as you can see, we have did this. This is so nice, where we have already did this. So that's all. The CSS background color property is the one we have been using so far, is this background color right here. So try to practice, because practice makes perfect. As you can see, we are having this document right here. We can control it anyhow we want. Let's use it again. Let's control this our color inside our the color inside our listing. Let's change this opacity to 0.3, so you can see the benefit of using the color opacity. As you can see, we are having color opacity and we are having element opacity. The element opacity, we can use it to control this first element here and the second element here, because these two elements are here, they are inside div element. We can just specify our div element and let's specify our div element. let's specify our div element and give this opacity. When you specify opacity 0.1 inside your div element like this, you are going to see, even without adding color, can you see it's reflecting, it's taking the color, it's fading our element away. That is the benefit of using opacity. The reason why it works with our h1 and h2 tag is because our h1 and h2 tags, they are both inside our div element. So there is no any magic in this when you can practice this, because if you practice make perfect. Let's say for instance now you're having color. Let's carry this color now, place it inside here. Let's say we are having this kind of color and we are having opacity again. It's going to fade it along with the color no matter what. Can you see the color also fade? So that is one thing I want you guys to know. Let's even know how the color you specify. Let's say you specify red. Even if you specify red, no matter what, it will still play out, because this one is controlling every element opacity. Let's bring it down to 0.1 so you can see. Can you see? It's so powerful. So I think I'm done for now. Anwar Akorede Ayofe is my name. I wish to see you guys next time. If you have been following me up to this level, please clap for yourself, because this is so advanced. We are coming from the beginners to the advanced level. Anwar Akorede Ayofe is my name once again. I wish to see you guys next time to our next tutorial.